They say love has no gender, that loving is human, and that everyone suffers the same way. But if you look closely, you'll see that's not entirely true. Men and women love differently, not more, not less, just differently. And that difference runs so deep that sometimes it hurts more than betrayal itself. There are women who love until they break, who give themselves completely without limits, believing that by giving everything they prove their worth. And there are men who love in silence, hidden behind walls, afraid to show what they feel because the world taught them that crying is weakness. Before we go any deeper, if you've ever loved so much that you lost yourself, if you've ever given more than you received, subscribe to this channel. Here, we speak of love without masks, the love that hurts, that confuses, that teaches, the love that breaks you, only to rebuild you stronger. Women love with their hearts, men often with their pride. And that pride, when mixed with fear, becomes an invisible wall, a wall that prevents them from giving themselves completely. Women tend to love as if it were a mission, as if their existence depended on saving someone. When a wounded man appears, she doesn't see a problem. She sees purpose. But loving from wounds always ends the same way. Empty. Men can love deeply too, but they fear losing control. They fear vulnerability, rejection, not being enough. So they withdraw, they turn cold, they disappear. Not because they don't love, but because they don't know how to handle what they feel. Love isn't measured by how much you cry or how much you endure. But here's the truth. When a woman suffers, the world notices. When a man suffers, the world stays silent. And that silence creates a wound neither fully understands. She says, "He doesn't show me anything." He thinks, "She doesn't understand what I don't say." And in between those words, love starts to fade. Love isn't a competition. It's not a war to see who feels more. Love is a mirror. And when that mirror reflects fear, insecurity, or need, love becomes dependence. Some women completely lose themselves in a man. Some men lose their souls trying not to appear weak. Both lose, because love should never hurt like that. The real question isn't who loves more. It's who forgets themselves more while loving. When a woman stops loving herself to maintain a relationship, she stops being herself. When a man stops feeling for fear of being hurt, he stops being human. True love isn't measured by sacrifice. It's measured by presence, by respect, by alignment between words and actions. If you're listening right now, you've probably loved more than you were loved. You've given when the other barely stayed. You've waited for messages that never came, forgiven things you don't even understand why you forgave. That too is love, but it's a love that needs to evolve. They say women are more emotional, not true. They're more expressive. Men feel too, but they've been taught not to show it. That's why so many explode when you least expect it. Women can cry and heal. Men can remain silent and rot inside. And that's where it all begins. Emotional education. Women are taught to care, to feel, to speak. Men are taught to resist, to endure, to control. Love doesn't obey rules. Love doesn't want to be tamed. Love wants to be lived. When both understand this, when man and woman realize that loving isn't losing yourself or controlling the other, but finding each other, that's when real love begins. If you've made it this far, breathe. Doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. What matters is that you see yourself in these words. If something stirred in you, if that familiar ache appeared in your chest, subscribe now. Not for me, but for you. Every video here will remind you what you deserve, even if the world made you forget. Love doesn't hurt. What hurts is clinging to someone who can't love you the same way. There are men who love from a distance, believing that staying close makes them vulnerable. There are women who love so closely that they smother the other person. Both extremes are born of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. Men fear being used. Women fear being abandoned. And both, unknowingly, repeat the same patterns over and over. A woman in love gives. She gives her time, her energy, her body, her soul. She believes that if she gives more, the other will give more. But love doesn't work through compensation. It works through balance. A man in love protects. He watches. Sometimes he waits for the perfect moment to act. That moment never comes. Love doesn't wait. Love is meant to be lived. Men love with actions. Women love with words. Both need to learn each other's language. It's not about who loves more. It's about who knows how to love better. Love isn't a battlefield, but many live it like one. Fighting to be right, to not appear weak, to not be the one who suffers most. Love isn't a battlefield, but many live it like one. Fighting to be right, to not appear weak, to not be the one who suffers most. There are men who love in silence for years, remembering details, feeling guilt, but never speaking it. There are women who scream everything, break inside, walk away, yet continue to love. And though they seem opposite, both are asking for the same thing. Please, see me. Please, understand me. Please don't make me feel that loving you was a mistake. You listening now. You know what it's like to give everything and still feel it wasn't enough. You probably tried to love someone who didn't know how to receive it. You probably lost yourself holding on to the impossible. You are not alone. Loving makes you human even when it hurts. Loving with your soul, even when they don't stay, teaches you. Because in the end, the greatest love isn't what you receive. It's what you learn to give yourself after losing everything. There's no gender that loves more. There are wounds that weigh differently. Women carry the burden of loving too much. Men carry the burden of never allowing themselves to love fully. But both can heal, both can relearn, both can love again. This time with awareness. And when that happens, it doesn't matter who loves more. It matters who loves better, who chooses themselves without fear, who sets boundaries without losing tenderness, who can look into someone's eyes and say, "I love you," without needing to lose themselves to prove it. If you've made it this far, if something inside of you resonated, if a part of your story reflected in these words, subscribe to the Unmasked Heart now. You might think it's just a click, but it's more than that. It's a way of saying to yourself, I'm ready to love without fear. Here, we don't talk about perfect love. We talk about real love, the kind that hurts, the kind that confuses, the kind that teaches, the kind that breaks you only to rebuild you stronger. So stay, because sometimes all you need to heal is to hear that you were never the problem, that you were simply learning how to love in the wrong place. And believe me, once you learn that, you never love the same way again. You love freer, deeper, more consciously, more yourself. Women love with an intensity that can overwhelm. Men love with a subtlety that can be invisible. But neither is superior, neither is lesser. They are mirrors of each other, reflections of the same human need to connect, to be understood, to feel valued. It's not about the volume of love, the number of sacrifices, or how much you cry. It's about presence, awareness, and mutual respect. Loving without losing yourself.